Okay.
And that's just one way.
Can I tell you a story?
Sure.
And I'm not going to use the P word, but I'm going to tell this story. My dad passed away about a month and a half ago. And I took a train to St. Louis. He lived in Kirkwood, St. Louis. He passed in his house. He died on his bed with a pressure cuff on his arm. He was a nurse. He was a cardiac nurse for 20 years. He was retired. His arm because obviously he knew something was up with his heart that night.
Mm-hmm.
And he fell back on his bed in his bedroom. And there his body lay for about a day and a half, and he was discovered by the police department when the neighbors reported that the TV was still on, and there were indicators that something was wrong. And my sister, when I arrived in St. Louis, she said, "Do you want to see where Dad died?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And we went to his house, and we went into his house, and the bed was, I walked in the bedroom and the closet's to the left of the room and the bed is to the right. And I walk over to the closet and I put on his suit jacket that he wore at his daughter's weddings. That here now, and he had no more weed. There was no more weed in his box. It was the last of his weed. And I sat on the bed right next to where his body was discovered, and I smoked that bowl. And I didn't enter his dream, but I heard him say, "How's it going, dude?" The way he always said in his casual way, "How's it going, dude?" And Dad had a playfulness in his voice that was undeniable and completely recognizable. And I was startled by how absolutely true I could hear his voice after he died. And that was as magical to me as music. So if you ask me the question, if I entered someone else's dream and they reported it, I would tell you it's just as magical to me as music. Just the way it was magical to hear my dad's voice after smoking his pipe, sitting next to the very place where he died. And my sister couldn't accept it. She heard me say I heard his voice, but she didn't want to acknowledge it or look it in the face for what it was. She wasn't capable or ready to do that. And I guess the moral of the story is I seek your guidance, because that didn't come around with technology. That was my vessel found communication with him and his spirit. Yeah. And it was a really special moment for me in St. Louis that day. At his wake, they played a song I wrote called "The Ghosts We Love" at the very end of his funeral service, after Jimmy went up and spoke, and Alana and Dora. And I didn't speak because I wasn't raised by him. I was his love child that he had no idea existed until I was 20 years old, when I was in the Army. And his brother acknowledged me as one of his sons, and that was a beautiful moment too. But I'll never forget, "What's going on, dude?" It was so clear. It was as clear as sunlight at noon shining on you with no clouds in the sky. I heard his voice.
Have you ever had any of these without any of these experiences without great stress?